Okay, hi. So for my article, I chose early childhood education during the COVID-19 outbreak, the perceived changing roles of preschool administrators, teachers, and parents. So I chose this one because I am a former preschool teacher, and it's a lot different than being in public schools from what I've taken from field experience. So I was just really interested in reading more about it. Obviously, I was a post-COVID preschool teacher, so I wasn't involved in that before, but it's always interesting to kind of go through. So I have a presentation just to kind of keep my notes in order, what I want to touch on while I present this, and yeah, let's get into it. So for my article summary, basically this whole article is talking about the impact of COVID-19, obviously from the title, but it talks about these stakeholders, is the term they use, which is teachers, administrators, parents, families, and how COVID has really had a direct impact on that group of people. So the study investigates the impact of COVID-19 on early childhood education stakeholders in Turkey. And it includes interviews to provide insight, whether it be with families, teachers, admin, whatever it is. They also use Mustaka's method to analyze this data, which I think is really interesting. And there were a couple themes that I took from this. So the first takeaway is that COVID had a really big impact on online education. And we all know that. I was a senior during COVID and I was a junior, I'm sorry, and everything was online. Every single assignment, everything. It was all in Google Classroom. So it kind of focuses on the changes in online education that were experienced. And it also touches on admin roles changing due to online learning, which is really interesting because we think about teachers being, kind of responsible for online learning, but it also really impacts the administration. Um, it also created new roles for teachers, kind of being more aware of what their Google Classroom looks like or whatever it may have been, but they almost have more responsibility to create all these assignments, put them where they need to be, and then have those same teaching resources available to students. So it's a lot of work. It was kind of a big focus of this article. It also increased mentoring and social responsibilities, diversified support roles for children. Um, when you think for a lot of children, school is a place they can come and be safe. So when you're taking kind of that away from them unintentionally, with COVID, there was no choice. But when that kind of home away from home is taken away, a lot of students are stuck in their homes, for lack of a better term. Um, so it kind of made teachers more adaptable to certain situations at home. And then the conclusion of the study was that it offered insight into the changes in early childhood education roles among these stakeholders that have been discussed due to the pandemic. My personal takeaways, it talks a little bit about financial difficulty. As a former preschool teacher, even though I didn't have a degree, I worked alongside people that did. And it's hard. It is hard. Excuse me. As I was saying, um, I really was directly impacted by financial difficulty in my job, and I think that that's a common theme for a lot of educators. But even my co-teachers that had college degrees were, barely making ends meet. And so it's really kind of interesting to see that with COVID, even today, that's still a problem. I also think it's kind of worrisome thinking about how technology and online learning may possibly eliminate, a teacher's role, even if it's only a little. I mean, that's still scary. Think about, in, older times, teachers, they were fully responsible. And I want to use technology in my classroom to help my teaching and not replace it. And I think that's very important to note the distinction because when I was in my classroom, I had co-teachers that would come in and we had iPads and they would set down an iPad and rely on that to do the teaching. And using that as a crutch can be really detrimental to students' learning because it won't be as effective. But I just want to use technology to kind of advance my own knowledge and skill and professional development and performance in a classroom. And